It is our duty to know about our own freedom struggle, and that we have to understand from Indian perspective, not from the Western perspective, not from England's perspective, because the people from England did not recognize the 1857 war as a war of independence. But we have to understand it was
हाँ,
indeed
थोड़ा तो
the
समझ ले।
great war for independence. It is our duty, in fact.
क्लास ही समझ ले मतलब क्या है बता मेरे को
क्लास ही है यार।
It is our duty to understand the the way our freedom fighters fought for bringing independence for our country. They sacrificed their lives. They sacrificed everything. And if we do not read about them, if we do not try to understand and appreciate them, if we do not follow them, then we are making a big mistake. We must understand them from our own perspective, not from Western perspective. Let us read the story of Devi Chaudrani. Read the story of Bhagat Singh. Bhagat Singh did not want to kill Britishers. He could have thrown the bomb in assembly over the Britishers' heads, would have killed somebody. But he did not want to kill. He just wanted people to become aware that it is our duty to raise our voice, and it is our duty that we should speak loudly enough so that the Britishers are forced to listen to us. These people had different paths, but these people were great people indeed. We all know about Gandhiji, about Tagore, about Patel, but then there were so many other people who played pivotal role, very very important role in our freedom, but many of us do not know about them. Stories of Kumar Singh, stories of Rani Lakshmibai, stories of Lala Lajpat Rai, stories of Mangal Pandey, stories of Rajguru, Dadabhai Nauroji, Ram Prasad Bismil, stories of Bipin Chandra Paul, Lal Bal Pal, collectively we call them. Lal is for Lajpat Rai, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal is for Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Pal is for Bipin Chandra Paul. And stories of a group of freedom fighters from
Excuse
northern
me, sir.
India. Yes,
Sir, students want to give their presentation.
uh, we'll schedule it tomorrow because right now the class will get disturbed. So
Okay,
we
sir.
have to understand the stories
सर
of these greatest people who made our lives possible. We are able to breathe freedom today because of the contribution of these great freedom fighters. We must remember them. We must also offer our salutations to the common people who organized the freedom struggle of our country. This freedom struggle, which was actually the common people's movement, Swadeshi Andolan. What was it? It was common people's movement. Everybody was participating in the Swadeshi Andolan. People had opened Swadeshi institutions all over India, right? In every city, people came forward to establish our own institutions. British people did not want us to have our own educational institutions. They had tried to completely destroy Indian education system. They had tried to completely destroy our art, craft, heritage, Our skilled craftsmen were tortured. Hands of the skilled people were cut. And Britishers tried to distort our history so that we can start fight among ourselves. They tried to present before us our own history in such a way that people start fighting on the basis of caste, on the basis of religion, or on some other basis. Because Britishers' policy was divide and rule, and they were successful in that policy. They were able to divide us, they were able to completely, you know, destroy our Indian roots. Large number of very efficient British, I would call efficient from British perspective, but from our own perspective, they were very exploitative. Many of them, for example, the one after another, we had people like Warren Hastings, who was a very efficient person from British perspective, but he was the person from our Indian perspective. He was able to divide we us. He enacted laws to regulate India. He was instrumental in bringing Regulating Act 1773, Pitt's India Act 1784, and he was instrumental in the first war with Marathas. He was trying to destroy us by weakening our soldiers, our kings. Then Cornwallis, very efficient person from British perspective, he introduced Cornwallis Code in 1793. He introduced permanent settlement of Bengal in 1793, and Third Mysore War and Treaty of Seringapatam. And he was also, in a way, able to strengthen British Empire in South India. Then Wellesley, another very efficient administrator, he ruled over India from 1798 to 1805 and was uh, weakening Maratha kingdom continuously. Then Minto, he introduced Morley Minto reform in 1809. He was also able to forge. He was also able to forge alliances with the Sikhs, Ranjit Singh Ji in 1809. Then Hastings, he was also able to, completely destroy our Maratha kingdom during 1817 and 1819 period. He introduced Royatwadi system. These were all exploitative system. Their only objective was to ruin India, to take the wealth from India to Britain. He fought with Nepal, and therefore, thereafter, he tried to create disturbances in Nepal also. But Nepal remained independent in spite of little bit efforts by British. Then we must also know about the contribution of Banting. Banting made some good efforts because he was very close to people like Raja Ram Mohan Rai and other freedom fighters. Because Raja Ram Mohan Rai and all these people, they were trying to bring enlightenment in India. So Sati Pratha was abolished in 1829, and many laws were enacted to bring about better practices. I mean, to stop the old practices. So William Banting, and he also introduced Charter Act 1833. So William Banting, you can say, was in a way contributing something for India. Most of these governor generals did not contribute for India; they all contributed for British Empire. Dalhousie was another great administrator. Dalhousie was in India from 1848 to 1856, and during these 8 years, he played. He introduced a lot of administrative reforms in India. He helped Britishers tremendously and built railway infrastructure and introduced Indian railways and introduced good education because that helped later on Britishers in getting clerks from India because Britishers wanted Indian people to become clerks. Britishers did not want Indian people to become entrepreneurs. Britishers did not want Indian people to practice their art and skills and amazing age-old skills because Britishers wanted Indian to buy goods made in Britain, and therefore they wanted an education system which could mold Indians from childhood to think about buying something made in England, buying something made out of India. That feeling they wanted to create. They wanted every Indian to start feeling admiration for Britishers from childhood onwards. They wanted every Indian to start having inferiority complex in comparison to Britishers from childhood onwards. And they succeeded greatly because of people like Dalhousie, and they were able to introduce so-called modern education all over India from Dalhousie's period onwards. And then in 1857, we had our first war of independence, and we must salute the great freedom fighters. We must read the stories of Lakshmi Bai, Kumar Singh, Tantia Tope, Nana Sahib. All these were great people, really great people. They sacrificed everything for our country. So we must read their story. After 1857, people in India were completely crushed. Britishers were very, very cruel towards India. They killed mercilessly thousands of people in India, all over, northern India. In on every tree you can find that Britishers used to kill Indians and hang them on trees so that people could see them and understand that Britishers are very strict. People started again fearing from the British. But Britishers did it with the help of Indians only. Handful of Britishers, with the help of Indians, were able to kill Indians. If Indians could have united, if they could have decided not to cooperate with Britishers, the situation would have been different. So it was all because of our own weaknesses. Lord Canning was on India's Governor General, and then he became the Viceroy in 1857, and East India Company was abolished. Instead of that, the Government of India Act was enacted in 1858, and Indian Council Act was enacted in 1861, and thereafter the British government started controlling India directly. So from this period onwards, we find the Britishers and Canning, Lawrence, and Lytton, all these three viceroys were very, very exploitative. Uh, Lawrence established high courts at Kolkata, Mumbai, Madras, Chennai in 1865. And Lytton was also very exploitative. Lytton was for 4 years in India from 1876 to 1880, and he wanted to crush India completely. He introduced Arms Act and Vernacular Press Act in 1878 and tried to stop Indian press. But after Lytton, we had a good person, Ripon. Ripon again stayed in India for 4 years from 1880 to 1884, and he repealed the Vernacular Press Act. He was a good person, and he introduced Ilbert Bill and Hunter Commission on Education. He introduced local self-government in India. He introduced Factories Act. He was trying to do some development. And from this period, British started thinking that they cannot rule a giant country like India only by exploitation. And they thought that they should
Everybody, please leave the class.
Welcome back. We were discussing India's freedom struggle, and some of these people from our history are really great people, and we have to know about them. We have to study about them because it is our moral duty to pay our homage to them, to pay respect to them. It is our moral duty to know about them. There are many places where you can find museums of our great freedom struggle, freedom fighters. You should visit those museums. In my city, Bikaner, we have a museum of freedom fighters, which obviously I consider as an important temple for you people, for us. We should visit that place and take inspiration from our freedom fighters. The contribution of our freedom fighters is amazing. We cannot be equal to them in any way, and we cannot pay our homage to them in any way. Their contribution is amazing. I was telling you about the important persons from our history. I was telling that Indian freedom struggle is always, uh, between the enlightened Indian and the exploitative Britishers. Indians were very enlightened. They did not have degrees, but they were really highly educated and very enlightened. They were so enlightened that they did not want to mercilessly kill any Britishers. They did not want to kill anybody. They just wanted the Britishers to understand that look, we are also human beings. We also need to live our life the way we want to live our life. We want to have our own freedom. The Indians were so enlightened that they understood that the intention of Britishers is very clear. Britishers want to sell their goods in India. Britishers want Indians to change their habits. Britishers want Indians to stop using goods made in India. Britishers want Indians to adopt British lifestyle. Britishers wanted Indians to adopt English language. Britishers wanted Indians to adopt English lifestyle, to adopt, mm, to develop an inferiority complex, and to start feeling an admiration for Britishers. That was their goal. Britishers could not achieve these goals so long as they were ruling over India. But when Britishers left, they were able to achieve these goals because the seeds they had put in India in the form of Indian education system started giving fruits, and it is still giving fruits. You ask any Indian today, he has stopped admiring India. You ask any Indian today, he has stopped buying goods made in India. You ask any Indian today, his dream is to go and settle down either in Britain or in United States or some other Britain, the erstwhile Britain controlled territories. But he doesn't want to live in India. So these goals which British people had, these goals are achieved today. The fruits are available to them. Fruits are available because today you see mass migration of talent from India to Britain and United States. People are in long queue. Everybody who is gold medalist from IITs or other top institution starts applying abroad and starts dreaming about getting citizenship of the so-called developed countries. People in India today have a very high inferiority complex. They have an inferiority complex in their mind. If they are not able to speak English, they start feeling inferiority. It was not so earlier. Earlier, we used to have a pride that look, our languages are very enriched languages. We should strengthen our languages. We should use our languages. Today, it's a different scenario. Today, we feel inferiority complex. We do not want to speak Indian languages. We do not want to learn these languages. We want our children to learn English language. And slowly and slowly, we are cut off from our roots. That's what Britishers wanted. Britishers wanted Indians to forget the great history and get cut off from our amazing roots, which Britishers are able to achieve today. So, for achieving these goals, British people had appointed very efficient administrators. I told you about Hastings, I told you about Cornwallis, told you about Wellesley, Banting, Hardings, Dalhousie, Canning, Lawrence, Lytton, Ripon, Dufferin, Lansdowne, Curzon, Minto, Minto 2, Minto 1, Minto 2. Then Hardings, Chelmsford, and Reading, Irvine, Wellington, Linlithgow, these and Powell, these were all great administrators. They were very efficient administrators. They were great from British perspective, not from Indian perspective. For us, they were very, very exploitative. Of course, a few exceptions. For example, I told you Ripon was very good. Ripon tried to introduce some welfare for India. Ripon was the person who tried to reverse the policies of the British people. You know, Ripon was the person who repealed Vernacular Press Act. So he was a very good person. He introduced Ilbert Bill. He tried to allow Indian people to be judged on in cases involving British people. That was something remarkable. So Ripon was very good person, and we must remember, we must appreciate Ripon. But then some people were very, very exploitative. James Ford, for example, a very exploitative person. From 1916 to 1921, he was in India. During his period, we had the Jalia Wallabag massacre in 1999. 1919, sorry. It was worst thing that you can think about. Thousands of people were killed mercilessly on 13th of April 1919. It was, horrible account, but you must read about it. It is very painful, but you must read the stories of Jallianwala Bagh, how it happened. You must know about it. Then reading was also very exploitative, and but Irwin was trying to be soft. Irwin tried to talk to Gandhiji. He had a pact with Gandhiji in 1931, and Irwin tried to, do some patch up. It was during this period that the period of Irwin that Congress started raising its demand for independence, complete independence. Nehru report and all these things came. So the great Indian freedom struggle is really something that all of us must know about. All of us must read about it. It is really great to know about the great freedom fighters, their contribution, their amazing contribution. We must read biographies of these great people, what they did, how they did it, how they sacrificed everything for attaining the freedom that we are enjoying today. Thank you all.